Hello friends, how are you all? In the first and second episodes of Flash, we saw how the red and yellow light took the life of Barry's mother, Nora, and the blame was put on Barry's father, Henry, after which Henry was sentenced to life imprisonment. Due to the explosion of the particle accelerator, Barry has become the world's fastest man, the Flash, whose purpose is to protect Central City from danger and find more metahumans like himself.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive. When I was a child, I saw my mother killed by something impossible. My father went to prison for her murder. Then an accident made me the impossible. To the outside world, I'm an ordinary forensic scientist. But secretly, with the help of my friends at Star Labs, I fight crime and find other metahumans like me. And one day I will find who killed my mother and get justice for my father. I am the Flash.
Episode 3 begins where Iris and Barry are shown together, having just watched a movie. On their way home, Iris talks about nothing but the Flash. That's when Iris receives a call from her boyfriend Eddie, and after taking the call, she starts talking to him on the side. Then Barry receives a call from Caitlin, who gives him the location of a criminal who is moving out of the city with a car full of guns, and despite the police being on his trail, they are failing to catch him. Barry catches him in seconds and places him in the police car, then returns to Iris's side. In the next scene, we see a gangster family sitting together in a room having a meeting where suddenly green gas appears and fills the entire room. Shortly after, every person present is killed by the poison. Then the next morning, we see Joe and Barry together, where Joe is talking to Barry about reopening the case of Henry, Barry's father, where Joe reassures Barry that very soon they will get Henry out of jail. That's when Eddie arrives and informs them about a murder that happened the previous night. The three of them, along with their team, reach the crime scene, where after investigating, Barry and Joe find something very strange, that if the death of all was caused by a toxic gas, then everyone should have died at once. But here, it seems like the gas reached everyone one by one and then took their lives. To solve the mystery, Joe and Barry arrive at Star Labs, where they speculate together that the controller of this gas might be their next metahuman. Joe suggests, "Why don't you people make a jail for metahumans?" Joe's idea is greatly liked by Dr. Harrison Wells, so he suggests using the site of the particle accelerator explosion as the best place for the jail, because that was the biggest part of Star Labs. Recalling the explosion, Caitlin becomes emotional because her fiancé Ronnie lost his life in that explosion. If we are shown a flashback story here, where Caitlin is seen discussing places to celebrate their honeymoon with Ronnie after witnessing the success of the experiment, that's when she informs Dr. Harrison about an approaching storm that could be a danger to their experiment. They should wait a bit longer to launch it. Harrison assures everyone that the upcoming storm cannot harm them, where shortly after, a danger alert starts sounding from their system, and now the story returns to the present, where Caitlin goes to Barry's lab with him, so they can together find out about the green poisonous gas, which they had collected from the dead body. Meanwhile, Joe is at his home watching Henry's video, hoping to find some crucial evidence for Henry's case. Eddie also arrives to meet Iris, but upon seeing Joe, he pretends and starts talking about another case. When Joe leaves, Eddie says to Iris, "We should tell Joe the truth," but Iris doesn't want that, and in anger, Eddie leaves. Back at Star Labs, Cisco and Dr. Harrison Wells are shown investigating the site of the particle accelerator explosion to quickly build the jail there for the metahuman. As soon as Cisco enters this part of Star Labs, he also gets emotional, and we are shown a flashback story related to him where we see Caitlin's fiancé Ronnie, who was the chief engineer at Star Labs, going alone into the room to fix the alert and locking the door from inside so that if there's any problem, he alone would die, allowing others to escape. The story is presented in a way where Caitlin and Barry are together finding out about the green poison when they come across something shocking, that the first time they analyzed, they found a quantity of poison in the body. According to the second analysis report, the poison disappeared from there, as if the poison had evaporated from the body through sweat. Here, Caitlin and Barry were convinced that this must be the work of a metahuman. Then, in the next scene, we see a female judge being followed by a bald man who converts himself into a green-colored gas and sneaks into the woman judge's lungs, leaving poison and escaping. When the department issues an alert about the incident in the city mall, Barry, without thinking, sets off to catch him. Just like that, Barry follows that bald man, where the bald man reveals, "I have only one more car left. If you care for your well-being, do not come in my way." Barry, using all his might, attacks the gas man, but fails to defeat him, after which the poison gas man starts releasing his poison inside Barry too, and escapes from there. Barry, managing to control himself, quickly reaches Star Labs, where Caitlin saves Barry by treating him. On the other hand, Iris goes to the police station and apologizes for her rude behavior to Eddie, and promises Eddie that she will soon talk to Joe, her father, about their relationship. Meanwhile, Cisco discovers a trace of a drug named hydrogen cyanide among the poison samples found inside Barry's lungs, hearing which Barry says, "This drug is given to prisoners in Central City who are sentenced to death," where, according to a report from 9 months ago, a person named Kyle Nimbus was sentenced to death in Central City, who was working for the Tiberian family, but was betrayed and sent to jail, meaning the family we saw at the beginning, and Kyle, who was sentenced by that judge. That was the same female judge whom Kyle had killed in the lift a while back. Now her last victim was none other than Joe, who had caught Kyle. As soon as all this is understood, Barry urgently asks for Joe's address, where he finds out Joe has gone to meet Barry's father, Henry, in jail, and that's when Kyle also arrives at the jail. And by drilling into Joe's fibers, he injects his poison and escapes from there, just as an alarm goes off in the network. Even Barry reaches there, taking Joe to the hospital. Once again, Barry, following his team's instructions, tries to exhaust Kyle, knowing that like the rest of the metahumans, Kyle would also get tired if he continuously uses his powers, so it will take time for him to convert himself into gas, making it very easy to capture him. And Barry does exactly that and finally captures Kyle, taking him to the jail made at Star Labs. In the next scene, we see Joe, who is now out of danger, where Iris tells him about her relationship with Eddie, and at the end of the episode, we are shown Dr. Harrison Wells observing Barry's suit. Then a flashback story is shown, where Dr. Harrison Wells realizes Ronnie has fixed the glitch in the system. Then Dr. Wells once again goes into that secret room we saw in the first episode, and at that moment, Dr. Wells sees a clip from the future in that room where a shock of electricity falls on Barry from the explosion of the particle accelerator, where Wells says, with a smile, "We will meet very soon." So, friends, at the end of this episode, we uncover such a big secret about the first particle accelerator experiment that it wasn't an accident, but Dr. Wells' fully programmed plan. Even though Ronnie had fixed the system, how did this explosion happen? Now the question arises why Dr. Wells did such a thing. So friends, there's no need to be more worried. The answer will come in the upcoming episodes.